Good day, class. Today we're talking about how to start your campaign with a disaster. Question mark?
Question mark? Why would you put a question mark at the end of a question? Is it even a question?
No, it's kind of a statement, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Gonzo, you know how it is. You're sitting there trying to figure out how you're going to start your campaign.
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions and inquiries about how to start a campaign. Like, where do we start? And getting started is one of the hardest things to do because there's a lot of trepidation. You may be a little bit timid about it, and you're not sure how your players are going to react to the story that you're trying to get started with them.
Writer's block and all that
Yeah. So how to start is there's plenty of videos on where to start or how to start your campaign. Right. There's common tropes that you can use, and we thought we wanted to share one with you today that would be a fun way to start your campaign.
Yep.
And it usually starts in a tavern.
A lot of times, it starts in a tavern, and everyone's all gathered there, and waiting for someone to, well, what are we doing here? Well, first we introduce ourselves. We don't know why we got called here per se, and then someone comes up, hey, can you help me? My daughter's missing, and so there's that. That's been a trope that's happened quite a bit, but.
We wanted to start with differently, right?
Yeah. So maybe, all right, let's say maybe you did start in a tavern and all that, and then all of a sudden, hordes of undead come pouring through the window and stuff, or if you're a fishing village somewhere, and all of a sudden a hurricane comes out of nowhere, and it's not that time of year for hurricanes, or they never get hurricanes over there,
right? And out of season
meteors, and now. The cool part is, like you say, your players. You're like, all right, roll a dexterity check right from the beginning. Boom, you're in it. You're not. It doesn't have this lull before you get into the actual action of it.
So they're not going up to a job board and picking a job and then heading down the trail, heading towards that job. So it's a little bit different in that the players are right away making rolls with their dice, and in just rolling the dice in general kind of adds a little bit of excitement to the table.
Yeah, one little way we thought of maybe starting this, where maybe you did have the guy come up and say, can you help me? My daughter's missing. And then something falls down and crushes that guy. That would really get the group's attention. Talk about a hook,
Yeah.
So that would be a thing. Speaking of disasters, if you like our content and want to see more of it, make sure that you subscribe and also hit the like button. So that it helps us as far as getting ranked and all that kind of stuff, all the YouTube's algorithms stuff. And also comment below if there's a way that you like to use disasters or a way that you like to start your campaign to really draw the players in. We'd like to know. We really like interacting with our viewers.
We promise we'll answer every one of your comments.
Yep, absolutely.
As great as they are.
As great as well thought out. Yes.
Yeah. So one of the ways that we wanted to talk about today is something called the impending disaster or impending doom, something that is definitely going to happen. Right away, I think about Lord of the Rings. Yeah. If the ring is not destroyed, Sauron is coming.
And
that's generally the nexus of the story. That's what is going to happen. So they know they have to do something. Hopefully, they can do it before this timer hits.
Right.
And it's all over after that. Another version of that maybe is Armageddon, the movie Armageddon.
Yeah.
Great 90s movie. It's brilliant in that you train miners.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Right? Or were they miners?
They're
drill.
Yeah, they're oil guys or something.
Oil drillers and miners.
I go back and watch it. It's very important movie to watch.
But you train them to be astronauts instead of training astronauts to learn how to use their equipment. So, and you send them up to
an asteroid so it can break it up so it won't destroy
crash
the Earth.
into the Earth.
Yeah. I'm sure it was that.
Great movie, but that was a good movie as far as that this is going to happen. There is no other way to stop this from happening except for this. Right. And those are the kind of feelings you want at your table. You want that tension. You want that, well, crud, that's going to happen. So, I have some things I have to do if I'm going to save my world, my country, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and you could have maybe like a portal's going to open up and bring a bunch of creatures into this realm, or there's a devil that's coming, or there's some maybe it's a necromancer he's becoming more and more powerful. He's trying to become a lich, or he's going to become a lich, or something that really bad's going to happen, and you're going to try to head that off as a group. So it has that. What we like about that is that you have that tension built in that. As a group, you're like, oh gosh, we got to do something to make otherwise the whole world's going to be destroyed. It's all on you to happen. So that's a nice way of using a disaster in there. But we thought of an even better way to use disaster, right?
Yeah, well, I think that you mentioned, Wally DM, our buddy over there, has got a really good video about impending doom, but it's a little bit different. Why don't you mention that one?
Yeah, I would say you got to check it out. So he has an idea. Honestly, I know, I'm thinking his thought process was kind of like mine. When they released just recently something called a scroll of summoning Tarask. And my thinking when I saw this, I'm like, what? How would you even use this? And I can't believe they're going to have this in Icewind Dale. What on earth? Wally DM took that idea, and he has an idea of how to incorporate that as an idea with using disasters, which is kind of what we're talking about. He does a brilliant way. He has a brilliant way of doing that. You got to go check it out. We'll have the link in the description of where to see that. But he does an amazing job. I'm like, wow, that was a great way to use that scroll. So anyway. So we thought the best way maybe is to combine that. So we have the start off with a disaster, and then we have the impending disaster as well. So we got both of those things. So let's give us an example of how that would work.
As usual, let's go ahead and start them in the bar, just like you said. And I like your idea of adding humor right away, where you have the common NPCs coming up to the group and asking for help with something. Yeah. And while they're in the middle of asking for help, the ground starts shaking. Maybe their jugs of ale get concentric circles in there, like boom, boom.
Like Jurassic Park.
So something like that's happening, and you kind of look around, and then the walls start caving in, the ceiling caves in, crushes this guy. He's a goner right away. Yeah. Awesome. So there goes their quest from him. But more importantly, you are making skill checks to run for your life. Everyone's dashing out of the doors, the windows. Yeah. They're making dexterity checks, whatever it may be, and there may be as soon as they get out, I'm picturing there's an avalanche coming down from a nearby mountain.
Right.
And they see, smoke and rocks shooting up, maybe a blast of fire. It almost looks like wings in the fire or something. Yeah. And then just, a giant avalanche coming right to this tavern. So you've got to run. Yeah. I would keep it 2 or 3 rounds, first level characters, having to make a skill check. And if they don't make their check, go ahead and they take some damage from falling rocks that are coming in, and they're not dodging them in time or whatnot. Right. Maybe the players have to help those that are knocked down, whatever. So this right away gets their blood moving. Yeah. It gets them kind of out of their natural element. Yeah. And then, as the dust kind of settles and things, that's when we thought, one of the very first things that you notice is when you look up at this mountain with smoke and ash coming out, is that there's a wave of black that you can't really tell just coming out down the edge slowly towards the town. So you can plop them anywhere in your world, any town, any city. Yeah. Could be
even on the road. They're traveling somewhere.
It could be.
This happens. It doesn't have to be in a tavern.
Yeah. So this is going to lead them to the next thing, which as a dungeon master, when you're creating a campaign, you always want to have that NPC that you create that helps them with the story hook. Right. Whether it's the disguised dragon that tells them, "Hey, I need this done," and or the noble that asks them to go save their daughter in a tower, whatever it may be. So in this way, this is going to give you an opportunity to provide them with an NPC that's going to help them figure out what's going on. And this is also, we talked about, this is a good idea to tie in their backgrounds possibly. If you happen to have a rogue in the group, or maybe someone with a noble background or something. Yeah.
So the way they gather their information, maybe that particular NPC is a rogue, and he's part of the rogues guild. So the rogue's like, hey, or trying to figure out what's causing this. This is so weird. Or maybe a noble. Nobles kind of tend to migrate to other nobles. So if you have a noble background, maybe they're going to come up to the noble in the group and say, you look like you know what's going on,
or a cleric.
Cleric. So any of those things you can kind of tie into that NPC, so that makes them more relatable to the group per se. But what's the NPC going to tell them?
Well, I like the idea of a cleric or a paladin, if you happen to have one of those in the group, that maybe the master of the order of the paladins, or the high priestess or something has the information. Why? Because we came up with the doom that already is here, is that Orcus has broken through the mountain, and maybe that was that wisp of fire they saw with wings or something, and
that's not good.
That's not good at all. So there's going to have to be some things done to be able to banish him, if we can at all. And one of the first things we know is he's after his wand, something like that. Right. So,
and if he gets the wand, he opens the gate to the 9 hells, and it's really bad. So it's bad now. And it's going to get worse if you guys don't stop it. So there's that impending death.
Yeah, and then we were thinking that wave of black that's coming down is not molten lava or anything. It's actually a wave of undead that's heading towards the town. So maybe. So hopefully you do have a cleric or priest in this group, but if not, you may need a couple of them. But and one of the best things about starting this way is it immediately gives you a big bad evil guy, someone that they know that they may not be able to tackle right away, or something, maybe a situation that's too big for them, but that they have an ability to be able to stop this from getting worse or from happening, or whatever it may be. So it gives them that person that they may be running into, Orcus's lieutenants and different things like that, his waves of undead as they're on the road towards gathering magical items to banish him or whatever it may be. So that's another great element of designing a campaign.
Absolutely.
Anyway, this idea of ours was to get you to be creative in your developing of a story where you can get them going with skill checks. And it could be anything. They could be like Mark said in the beginning, you could be on a ship and a tidal wave is coming and you're magically putting air behind those sails trying to get to land because this was coming out of nowhere, and how is that caused? There's something there. Whatever it is that gets your players moving right away is definitely a fun way to start your campaign. And anytime you can add tension to the game, that adds fun. That's what we found. So
absolutely. And with that,
class dismissed.